So we're talking about lessons from the pandemic, and you'll recall from last time I said one big lesson for me was this. Happiness is rooted in our circumstances. Joy is rooted in the perspective that God is at work in our circumstances. So that was lesson number one. So here's lesson number two. As a matter of character, God is a long-term planner. So we must learn to see our short-term disappointments in light of his character. Now I need to disclose something to you that I journaled about myself, so I'm gonna read that really quickly. One of the areas where I struggle the most is in my reaction to disappointment. When I have set my heart firmly upon an outcome, planning and steadily working that plan, I'm often at a loss when things don't turn out quite the way I had envisioned. Can you relate to that? How many of us set our hopes and our expectations upon things, and then we don't have a way to move forward when what we expected didn't come to pass that way? There was no greater pressure cooker that I've experienced in my life than the worldwide pandemic as it related to our expectations. It was impossible to plan. It was impossible to set boundaries around your plans. It was impossible to know if the things you had planned would ever come back around. But all of those things were short term. And all of those things had to be managed in terms of our disappointments, our hopes, our expectations. Something that set this in perspective for me really early on, in fact, I think it was the first Sunday of the pandemic, a pastor named John Tyson came to our church. He was a pastor in an area that was hit early with COVID. And he said that moments like this reveal to us our misplaced hopes. That was profound, and it really did set the pace for how I was watching myself during this time of crisis. Short-term planning, long-term God. Okay, so final thought about this, reading really quickly. The pandemic forced many of us to yield our short-term vision to the notion of a long-term God. It's not always comfortable, but when we can truly defer to his control, surrendering our plans to his plan, disappointment has less of a stronghold over us. Not only will we have peace in the short term, but ultimately we'll be better equipped for success. Short-term expectations, long-term God. Listen, moments of crisis, you gotta glean what you can. That's lesson 2. One more to go.